Good afternoon, Second Street families. I'm Sam Sams, principal of Second Street School. Excited to be coming to you today with some information on what our next phase of coming back to school looks like for this 2020-2021 school year. So I have a few things that I'm going to discuss with you today, and I want to first thank you all so much for what has been done and the amazing things happening in this district since we started school August 26th. We are so thankful for our families and community members that have made this virtual transition a lot easier to bear. You all have provided support for your students, for our community, for our teachers, and we can't thank you enough for what you are doing for your child in these unprecedented times. And we are so thankful for our community coming together to make this virtual experience the best it can possibly be with these challenges. I also want to say thank you to our amazing staff, our amazing teachers. They have done a wonderful job making sure that our students are fed, making sure that they are getting the best possible education virtually. It has been a challenge, to say the least. Our teachers are working day and night to make sure that your children have what they need, and I cannot thank them enough for their work that they have been putting in to make sure this year is not any different than any other year despite this current situation. So big shout out to our teachers, our staff, our parents, our families, and our students. Our students have been amazing through this, and thank yous all around. We appreciate you all so much. Virtually, it has been going well, as best as it possibly could, given these circumstances. We provided a schedule to you way before school started on what this would look like, and you could probably notice that we've already made some tweaks with what that schedule does look like in order to provide the best education for your child. We started with whole group instruction for some of the younger kids, and then it made more sense to have more small group instruction for those children to make sure that they were engaged, to make sure that our teachers could have access to them and answer and ask questions. So some of those things have changed along the way, but it was important for us to do to make sure education was happening and providing you the best opportunities for your child. So those changes have been made. So now new changes are happening. We were provided some guidance from both the governor and Dr. Stack with a new coloring system and a new coloring tool for our state. And so today, that's what we're going to discuss with you today, and the plan that our school and district has put together and which was board approved yesterday. So I'm going to go over that coloring system with you and kind of break it down on what that looks like for our school. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So here is our coloring system, and I'm going to show you the website that is accessible by our public at any time. So you can view this, and I'll make sure that I provide this link as well. But this is what that website looks like. And as you can see, this map shows all the counties, and a county can be red, orange, yellow, or green. And I currently have Franklin County highlighted, and we are currently orange. So what that means is that we have so many cases, an average daily case per 100,000 population based on the previous 7 days. So as you can see, our daily average is 13.4. We are in orange, and we are close to the yellow line, because in order to get to yellow, that number has to be below 10. So we are definitely not on the other side of it, closer to red. We are very close to yellow. And you can see that a variety of counties are different colors across the state. So you have all of these different colors. Like I said, we are close to the yellow range. In order to be green, that number is 1 or less. But you can see there are a few counties that are green, as well as a few counties that are red. So it's important to know where we currently stand, and that is orange. Like I said, this does update. This is live, and I will provide you this link so you can check this map anytime you would like. But this is the information that has guided the next decisions that our district is taking. So I wanted to let you know where that is coming from. So what does this mean for you and for the children of Second Street? So we developed a plan based on their recommendations on the coloring system. And what they provided to schools is that if a county is in green, they are feeling that it is safe and okay for students to have in-person or remote learning. It would be that district's choice. If a county is in yellow, then they could have in-person instruction with heightened mitigation factors or remote learning. If you are orange, they may take additional mitigation steps and prepare for possible remote learning, and that would be guidance with the school and the district, and red, they suggest that no in-person learning can occur. So right now we are orange, and based on that, that is why I've decided to move to a small group instructional model. So these are the colors, and now I'm going to share with you what does our plan look like per those colors. So if we were to ever go to red, that would mean we're 100% virtual. So that's currently what we are doing in this state. So as we are orange, we are going to be moving to small groups. So what does small groups look like? Right now, we have decided that the morning time will be 100% virtual, very similar to what you're experiencing right now. But in the afternoon, we are going to open it up and provide in-person small group instruction time for students who are willing to come to the building and meet with their teachers. This will happen Monday through Friday. If we are yellow, then we will begin to phase students back into the building. How this will happen is we will bring preschool and kindergarten in first, followed by 1st through 4th grade, then 5th through 8th, and we will slowly phase that in. If preschool and kindergarten go really well, then we will move on to 1st and 4th grade. If that works well, we will move on to 5th through 8th. Once we have phased in though, and that is all working out well, is when we would move to green. Even if our county is not green and we are phased in and it is going well, we could work with this model. So just because our county is a certain color, remember that is guidance, but that doesn't necessarily automatically push us to a plan. So if we have phased in and now we have all students in the building, this is what our schedule would look like. You can see that I have a column for virtual learners and in-person, because throughout any of these plans, a family always has the option to remain 100% virtual. So when you fill out the form today, you have the option to keep your child 100% virtual, or depending on the different colors, how do you feel about bringing your child into the building? So if we have phased in and we have the 70% of children back in the building, as the last survey data showed, then we would have our first 45 minutes of the day would be dedicated to our virtual learners. That is from 8 to 8:45 in the morning. Our teachers are meeting with their virtual students. Once 8:45 hits, then our doors will open and we will open the doors for our in-person learners. We will have in-person instruction during the morning, and then we will have lunch followed by more instruction and then dismissal at 2:30. On Wednesdays across the district, both at Frankfort High and 2nd Street, will remain 100% virtual. So we will not have children in the building on Wednesdays. So this green plan of being phased in and children in the building is only on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you can see here that we both virtual and in person of what this looks like. And we're going to talk about a few more details on really what that looks like here in a minute. So these are the plans that we submitted, and the board did make a decision to move forward on September 28th. We are going to move forward with our orange plan, which allows for small group of instruction in the building. So you might be asking, what are small groups? What does that mean? So small groups, guidance from the state says that we need to meet a capacity percentage as well as keep children in our building below 15 per room. That also includes the teacher. So it'd be 15 humans in a room. So with that guidance, we will be creating small groups based on a variety of different data pieces. So we want to make sure that our special education population is getting the services they need. We want to make sure that any child that needs some extra assistance is making sure that they have the ability to be in the building. And we want to make sure that based on academic data, we'll form these differentiated groups as well. So your student can be grouped in a small group for a variety of reasons, and those groups will be determined by teachers. However, in order to start planning these small groups, we have to get data from you to know if you're letting your child come in the building for small group instruction. So this is the stage that we will be moving forward with, and small group instruction will be starting September 28th. So I will now transition over to our slideshow here. So you can see that as we bring in kids to the building, we want to reassure you that we are taking all the safety precautions necessary to make sure that your child's health is our top priority. In order for you to understand how some things have changed, we wanted to update you on the guidance we've been given. So the new guidance has mandated that masks be worn at all times, no matter the distance in between people. Initially, if we space people out 6 feet or greater, then masks could come off. The new guidance is saying 6 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, you always are wearing a mask when you are in this building. So please know that when you make a decision for your child that their mask must be worn at all times unless they are actively eating or drinking. So that will be the only time they can take that off. And if we have lunch provided in the building at that time, we'll make sure that students are appropriately distanced to keep them safe during that eating time. We will continue to implement temperature checks. We've been doing that with our staff every single day. We've been doing that with a few students that are entering the building already. We are cleaning, disinfecting, and sanitizing, and we will continue to do that going forward. We're also going to implement hand washing guidance to make sure that students understand how to wash their hands and make sure that they are washing their hands, sanitizing their hands throughout the day. We will also be implementing school contact tracing. So the health department will initiate their own contact tracing if a positive case were to occur, but we will also be doing our own level of contact tracing to get that process started immediately. So with all of these guidelines in place, we do feel that we can bring students back into this building safely for them to experience in-person instruction during this school year. We also want to make you aware and remember that the importance of keeping everyone's safety is our top priority. So students need to know that if these guidelines, if they will not follow these guidelines, then how they are learning could possibly be changed. So these are non-negotiables in our building, and in order to keep everyone safe, we must all do our part and make sure that we are following these guidelines. The next step is transportation and lunch. I want you to know that transportation and lunch will always be provided. However, logistics might change. So what that means is transportation will be provided to you if your child is coming in person, whether that be small group or fully in-person learning. Lunch will also always be provided. Currently, lunch is being delivered. However, once we have so many children in the building, that delivery option might change and it will be a pickup process. So please know that transportation and lunch will always be provided, but logistics could change, and we will make sure that you know when those changes are occurring and when they do. Next up is the discussion on virtual versus in-person. When you looked at the schedule of starting at 8 and that first 45 minutes being dedicated to our virtual learners, that looks very different than what you're experiencing right now. Currently, if 100% virtual, our teachers are totally dedicated to every teacher or every student in this building. We are providing live instruction. We are pulling small groups. We are asking questions to students through video and working on those engagement practices and just making sure students are learning in this virtual way. When the schedule does change, our teachers will have a group of students in front of them in the building. So that schedule of what we are currently used to will be changed, and I want you to know that going forward. We want to make sure that the educational services for our virtual learners and our in-person learners are as equitable as possible. However, there are some realities to the situation as well that with that schedule change, it will be very different. So I want you to know if you remain virtual, that teacher will not be as accessible as they currently are. So please keep that in mind when you are making decisions. Next up is the form that you have to fill out. So I'm going to go over the form. Every single family needs to fill this out for every single child in their home. The deadline is midnight this Sunday, September 20th. The reason the deadline is midnight is because the school will begin to call you on Monday and remind you to fill out the form if you haven't done so. So the more we can get completed, the less calls we have to make, and the sooner we can begin planning the details of small groups and transportation and what that looks like for you, and the sooner we can get that information out to you. So it is imperative that we get this data as soon as possible. So I'm going to go over the form now so you know what to expect. So this is the form that will be coming to you. This is not a survey. It is not just an opinion-based process. This is a form. You're making educational decisions for your children, and this is a mandatory form, and I want you to know that going in. So the first thing you will be required to do is enter an email address. This very first email address is important because whatever email address is here, that email will receive a copy of your answers. However you fill out this form, that email will receive a receipt that this was submitted, and you'll be able to see the answers that you provided to us. The next part will be the student name. If you have one student at home, you fill this out once. If you have 5 students at home, you fill this out 5 different times. So the student name will go there. Then we're asking that you have the student ID. Every student has this in their possession. They use it every day to get on their computers. It is their child's password that they would be familiar with. Most likely it starts with a 212 number. Please fill that out. If you really do not know that number, then you can put I don't know in that field, but we are asking if you do to please list that. You will then choose your child's grade level, preschool through 8th grade. And then you will list the guardians making these decisions for your child. It's important that you have these discussions as a family and make sure that you are making this decision and that it is agreed upon by all parties. The next is another location for an additional guardian email to be put, but please know this second email does not receive these results. So only the first email does get that. Now, if you do want results sent both ways, it might be best to have this initial email get forwarded to you. If you really want a copy and you don't feel like there's any way to get it, we will do our best to give you those results as well. So I have to fill this out in order to move forward because all of these fields are required. So I will fill out just quickly so you can see what is next. So after you have filled everything out, if you leave something blank, it will let you know. So continuing on to the next page. So we have put an attention statement here. We want to let you know that the decisions you are about to make cannot be altered until winter break unless some circumstances come up that we need to be notified about. So these decisions are final. The first question asks that it really just is a statement, and we want you to recognize that if we are a red county, that you recognize that we will go 100% virtual. So we are asking that you put your name in this box, and that is recognition that you read this statement and understand what it means if we were to go red. The second question asks you on what you prefer starting September 28th, because that is when we are starting our small groups. So this is the most immediate transition that will happen. So your options are your student will remain virtual, or you will allow your student to attend in-person small group learning throughout the week. Those are your 2 options. Then yellow and green, and you can see that they're merged together because remember, yellow is that phased in process to get to green. So if we are yellow and we begin phasing in that process, then eventually we will have all students in the building. So will you want to keep your student virtual 100%, or will you allow your student to come back to in-person learning? You might be comfortable with having your student do small groups and they would start the 28th, but you might not be comfortable having them come into the full building. So you have the option to make 2 different decisions if you like, knowing that if we begin this phase in process, then the small group in person would also change. So you get to make those decisions for your children. So going next, the next question is revolved around transportation. So please note that transportation will only be provided to students living in Frankfort Independent School District. So the first question is starting with small groups. This is the orange phase. Do you need transportation for your child? So your options are, my child is 100% virtual and no transportation is needed. Or my second option is we do not need a bus. When my student comes to the building for small groups, we will provide transportation. You as a family will be bringing in your children. Your last option is that you need a bus. When your student comes to the building for small groups, you need transportation provided by the school. Then the second question is transportation for when we progress to yellow and green and we phase in. So when we are no longer small groups and we are bringing children in for a full day, what is your answer? It's the same question. It's the same answers provided. Is your child staying 100% virtual and that's why you don't need transportation? Do you not need transportation? You'll be bringing your child every day, such as a car rider or a walker, or your child will need a bus. So if your child is a car rider or a walker, then you would choose that middle section. So we have to pick one to move forward. All right, this is the last part of the form before you hit submit. Basically, this is a form, this part of the form is where you put your name to sign your name in the box, acknowledging that you have made educational decisions for your child at Second Street and that these decisions are final. This is that final reminder to let you know that you are making these decisions based on our current system, our safety guidelines that we are putting in place, mask wearing and temperature checks and contact tracing, and that we are moving towards an in-person learning model, and that you've made decisions for every phase that we have offered. Once you've put your name in there, you will hit submit. Once you hit submit, then that first email that you put in at the very beginning will get a receipt of response, and you will see what you answered. It might not be immediate, it might take a minute or two, but you should be getting a receipt for that first email you listed. So this is the form that will have to be completed, and I'm going to send that out, and you will have until Sunday night at midnight before we start calling you on Monday. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I hope that this was helpful and very provided a lot of information. I hope that it was informative to help you as a family make the best decision for you and your family. And we are excited to start seeing faces in the building. We love seeing faces over Zoom, but we are excited that we get to start making some next steps of bringing children back in the building. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, there are forms on our website to submit those comments, questions, and concerns. You are also free to email or call us, because we want to make sure that you feel like you have all the information you need in order to make this decision for your children. So I thank you so much for your time. And please remember that there is a deadline on this form. We need this data as soon as possible. And I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And once again, thank you so much to our Frankfort community for being so amazing during this time. Have a great weekend, and go Panthers.